Rainbow Six Vegas 2, I think, is probably the most loved, commercially successful Rainbow Six game of all time. What took so long to bring out Siege?
Initially, we were going to bring out Patriots, which wasn't the direction that the team wanted to go in. They were never happy with what was being developed. And then we decided to really push the idea of the destruction. And then a new core team came in and brought along the whole idea of the operators, because really fundamentally that's the basis of our inspiration, is really the idea of playing the hero, playing that counter-terrorist unit. So then along comes the idea of a siege and how all of that plays together. So it just all came together quite nicely, and that's where we've gone.
I enjoy playing indie games quite a lot. It seems to have taken inspiration for me from games I'm not sure if you're aware of, like Dungeon Defenders, and other games where you kind of pre-build your base a lot before actually playing, which isn't something you've seen a lot in first-person shooters. What were did you have any kind of inspirations for this gameplay style where you build up the defenses and then jump into the action?
Well, the whole idea, again, is the inspiration of the idea of a siege. Just that there's an attacker and a defender side, and both play very key roles in a siege event. So we weren't really basing our gameplay off of anybody else. We weren't taking any ideas from anybody else, but it's sort of how both sides could use the destruction in their environment to their benefit, and then adding the operators with their different devices and how all of that plays together. That's really where we were going.
The previous Rainbow Six games, they had a very strong single-player element as well. I think a lot of people are very sentimental towards the single-player campaigns going all the way back to the original Rainbow Six. Vegas 2, really good single player. There's not been a lot said about the single player in Siege yet. Can you tell us anything about it?
So the main experience that players are going to see in Rainbow Six Siege is definitely the PvP online experience. We weren't heading towards a competitive multiplayer shooter originally. It was just to be a very solid online shooter. Fans have been bringing us more towards the esports, so that's definitely something we're looking to concentrate on. However, we do have different game modes. You can also play PvE, so you can play against enemy AI. There are difficulty levels. All the 11 maps that will be available are still there, day and night, but there is no story mode per se. You do go through training, where you get to experience different operators and their devices, etc. Playing against enemy AI, you can play in co-op through those maps. You can customize your matches a little bit as well. So that's what we're offering more on the single player side of things, where you can play through Lone Wolf. You're not forced to play the online PvP experience, but know that the enemy AI also has the same tools that a normal player would. So it's still a pretty good training ground. And then on top of that, you're also unlocking the same content as you would if you were playing in PvP or any of the other modes. You're still gaining stars, you're still gaining the renown points, and then you're still unlocking operators and weapon attachments and skins.
So it'd be fair to say that in a way the single player mode in Rainbow Six Siege is pretty much practice for the meat of the game, which is the multiplayer online element.
It is a great way to practice, but that's not all it is. You are met with an unknown threat called the White Masks. They have different jobs that they play. Whether you're playing as an attacker or a defender, the experience with them is a little bit different. Again, they have access to the same tools that a player has. And then you've got challenges that surround that as well. So there is a little bit of a backstory that goes to kind of what their role is, but it is essentially a great way to train and to learn sort of all the different gadgets that you get to work with and the different operators, how they play, and then if you do choose to play PvP, well, then you've got a leg up.
One of the things I most loved about Rainbow Six games, particularly Vegas 2, I'm a split screen guy. I'm very sentimental towards it. Some of my best gameplay experiences have been split screen. Will there be anything like that in Rainbow Six Siege?
So there's no split screen, but you can play 5 players in co-op, up to 5 players. You can play 2 players if you want, but it's not split screen.
So with a lot of online gameplay, I think, for example, Battlefield and Call of Duty, people like to sort of just jump in, and communication isn't necessarily a big element of the gameplay. You can kind of work as a team, but you don't necessarily have to communicate. Rainbow Six Siege, from what I played, seems like a game where communication is really important. Do you think that the kind of people who aren't quite so vocal will still be able to play this? Will there be kind of like auto commands that they can give and stuff like that?
I do think that they'll still be able to play and they'll become comfortable. It's really how you become comfortable with the operator more than anything else, but communication is key. What we have been seeing is somebody will become a team coach or a team leader and lead the team through a map, through the objectives. So if people aren't communicating to them, we'll see them start asking questions. Well, where are you in the map, and what's going on, and then they're forced to answer the question. But sometimes it's more comfortable that way for players. Other players that are a lot more serious or more, they're more used to that kind of experience, they offer up the information right away, and the team dynamic works out a little bit better. But definitely, team play, communication is extremely, extremely important.
And is there any word on DLC? I mean, in a game like this, with all the kind of defensive equipment you can set up and stuff, I can see real room to expand and add in more and more kind of elaborate defensive mechanisms. Is there anything lined up on that front?
Well, DLC is planned for the future. We can't talk about what exactly is going to be done because we're still in the process of finishing the original game. The DLC is not being made at the same time. That's usually the way that it works on a production team. You try to finish the original game as much as possible. So they're still in debug phase, and with the closed beta coming, being released today actually, that means that we're going to need time to make sure that we can inject all of that feedback into the game before we release. So yes, there will be DLC in the future, but it's not being worked on at this time, so I can't really tell you what's going on.
Scott, thanks for your time. You're watching WhatCulture.com.